Right now, you think you're in control of your life. But what if I told you? Most of your decisions today were already made before you even realized it, not by your goals, not by your dreams, but by habits, pressure, and invisible mental shortcuts. It's like you're the driver of a car, but your hands aren't really on the wheel. And the scary part? You don't crash all at once. You drift slowly into a life you never actually chose. That's what clear thinking is really about. Waking up before that drift becomes your destination. Part 1. You're running on default mode. Here's the deal. Your brain is built for survival, not perfection. So instead of thinking deeply all the time, it creates shortcuts called defaults. These are automatic reactions you don't even notice. And they show up the most when you're tired, you're stressed, you're emotional, or you're just overwhelmed. Basically, when life gets real. You come home after a long day. You told yourself you'd study, hit the gym, or work on your goals. But instead, you grab your phone, open TikTok, and boom, 2 hours gone. That's not because you're lazy. It's because your brain picked the easiest default option. Another one. You're in a heated argument. You know yelling won't help, but you still go off. Later you're like, man, why did I say that? That's default mode. And here's the key idea. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your defaults. So if your defaults suck, your results will too. Part 2. The emotional default when feelings take over. Let's go deeper. One of the strongest defaults is your emotional reaction. When something triggers you, your brain doesn't stop and think. It reacts instantly. And emotions? They move fast, way faster than logic. Someone posts something about you online. You feel disrespected. You instantly clap back. In the moment, it feels right. But later, you regret it. Because emotions don't care about long-term consequences. They just want to win right now. Same thing happens with anger, jealousy, fear, even excitement. Ever bought something you didn't need just because you were hyped in the moment? Yeah, that's emotional default too. The problem isn't emotions themselves. The problem is letting them drive the car. Part 3. The social default, following the crowd. Now let's talk about pressure. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that makes you think, I'll just do what everyone else is doing. That's the social default. And it's powerful because humans are wired to fit in. Nobody wants to feel left out or judged. So what do? We copy. Everyone in your circle is wasting time. Nobody's really focused. Nobody's trying to level up. Even if you want to do better, it feels awkward to move differently. So you shrink. You play it safe. And just like that, your potential gets capped. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Average environments create average people. If everyone around you is chillin', you'll probably chill too. Not because you're weak, but because it's easier. Breaking away from that. Yeah, it feels weird at first, but that's the price of growth. Part 4. The ego default, protecting your image. Now this one, it's deep. The ego default. This is when your brain tries to protect your image instead of finding the truth. Basically, you don't want to look stupid. You don't want to be wrong. You don't want to lose. So, instead of learning, you defend yourself. Someone gives you feedback. Instead of listening, you get defensive. Or, you make a bad decision. Instead of admitting it, you double down. We've all been there. It's like your brain says, hey, we're not wrong. They're wrong. Even when deep down, you know the truth. The problem? Ego blocks growth. Because you can't improve something you refuse to admit. The strongest people aren't the ones who are always right. They're the ones who can say, yeah, I messed that up. That's real power. Part 5. The inertia default, staying stuck. Now let's talk about something sneaky. Inertia. This is why people stay stuck, even when they know better. It's basically your brain saying, let's just keep things the same. Even if the same isn't that great. Staying in a situation that drains you. Avoiding a conversation you know you need to have. Putting off something important again and again. Why? Because change takes effort, and effort feels uncomfortable. So your brain chooses comfort over progress. Here's the crazy part. The longer you stay stuck, the harder it becomes to move. It builds momentum in the wrong direction. Kind of like being on a couch. Sitting down is easy. Getting up? Way harder than it should be. That's inertia in real life. Part 6. Environment beats willpower. Now here's where things start to flip. Most people think, I just need more discipline. Nah, that's not the real solution. Because willpower runs out. Parrish makes it clear. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your motivation. So instead of trying to force yourself, you change your setup. Want to stop using your phone so much? Don't rely on being strong. Move it away. Want to study more? Sit around people who are actually studying. Want to eat better? Don't keep junk food around. Simple, right? But powerful. Because now, the good choice becomes the easy choice. And the bad choice? It takes effort. That's how you win. Not by fighting yourself, but by setting yourself up better. Part 7. The Power of Pause. Here's one of the simplest tools in the whole book. And honestly, it might be the most powerful. Pause. Before you react, pause. Before you speak, pause. Before you decide, pause. Because in that tiny moment, you interrupt your default. You're about to snap at someone, pause. You're about to quit something, pause. You're about to waste time, pause. That pause creates space. And in that space, you get control back. It's small, but it changes everything. Part 8. Clarity beats speed. Now here's something most people get wrong. They think making fast decisions makes them smart. But honestly, rushing is where most mistakes happen. We live in a world where everything is instant. Instant repli, instant opinion, instant réaction. So we feel like we got to decide right now. But Parrish makes it clear. The best decisions come from clarity, not speed. Example, you get an opportunity. Everyone's hyping it up. It feels exciting. So you jump in without really thinking it through. Later, you realize it wasn't even aligned with what you wanted. That's what happens when you move too fast. Sometimes the smartest move is to say, let me think about it. No pressure, no ruse. Because once you see things clearly, you move better. Part 9. Small decisions, big outcomes. Here's where it all connects. Life doesn't change overnight. It changes through small decisions stacked over time. Tiny stuff, almost boring stuff, but it adds up like crazy. Choosing to study instead of scroll. Choosing to stay calm instead of react. Choosing to take action instead of procrastinate. One time doesn't seem like a big deal, but do that every day. Now you're building momentum. And momentum? That's what separates people who talk from people who actually level up. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Just a little better every single day. Part 10. Own your decisions. Here's the final piece most people avoid. Taking full ownership. It's easy to blame stuff, right? Blame the situation. Blame other people. Blame bad luck. But Parrish makes one thing super clear. Your life is shaped by your decisions, not your intentions. Not your excuses, your decisions. Real talk. Two people can be in the exact same situation. One says, this sucks, nothing I can do. The other says, all right, what's my next move? Same situation, different mindset, different outcome. When you start owning your decisions, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop complaining. You start moving. And yeah, you won't get everything right. Nobody does. But at least now, you're in control. And that's powerful. Here's something most people never realize. Your future doesn't depend on one big decision. It depends on what you do in the next 10 seconds. Again and again and again. That moment when you feel pressure. That moment when you feel lazy. That moment when you want to react. That's the moment that decides everything. Most people just let it slide. But if you can slow down, if you can catch yourself, if you can choose instead of just reacting, you don't just change your decisions. You change your direction. And once your direction changes, your entire life follows. And hey, real quick, if this video actually helped you out, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more stuff like this. Also, drop a comment and let me know which part hit you the hardest. And what's one thing you're actually going to apply in your life after this? Don't just watch, take action. I'll catch you in the next one.